I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Tress and the Emerald Sea was not my favorite Cosmere novel. I liked it, but I think it was probably my least favorite so far. So today, we're talking about the 5 things that I hated the most about Tress and the Emerald Sea. Number 5. One of the characters in Tress and the Emerald Sea was mute. And I can't remember their name. They used some kind of technology where they could type out what they wanted to say, and I think it would say it back to you. I kind of forgot. It's been, I don't know, a month since I read it. This in and of itself is not a problem, and actually it was really refreshing at first. However, I really did not appreciate finding out at the end that this whole time it was a computer. The big problem I have with that is that our narrator is Hoyt. He knows what a computer is. He knows we know what a computer is. And he even is the one who tells us later that it was a computer. So why can't he tell us in the beginning? Those kind of reveals where the same person who's hiding it from us is also revealing it to us later just felt disingenuous to me, and I felt tricked, but not in a good way, like, oh, you got me good, I didn't see that coming. More in the way of, that wasn't that big of a deal, you should have just told me. Number 4, the entire story is based on Tress's voyage to go find her boyfriend, Charlie. And we find out towards the end that, surprise, Charlie's been with her the whole time. And I actually liked that twist. The twist that I didn't like was that the witch didn't fix him, which is fine. The twist that I didn't like was that after the sorceress doesn't fix it, Hoyt has like a throwaway line in the last chapter that's like, oh, I figured out how to do it and I fixed it. It was kind of hard. To me, it felt like a lackluster answer to a problem that probably should have been addressed at length, because it's the problem that we've been trying to solve the whole time, getting Tress connected with Charlie. Number 3, I mentioned in my previous video the 5 things that I loved about Tress and the Emerald Sea, that I loved the inclusion of tons of world hoppers. However, the world hoppers weren't the only Cosmere reference in Tress and the Emerald Sea. In fact, Tress and the Emerald Sea was extremely heavy with Cosmere references, and for me, it was just too much. It actually made me feel really stupid because 1, I didn't notice it, and 2, I still didn't even know what he was talking about. At the time of reading Tress, I hadn't read Dawn Shard, but I have now, and I also haven't read Warbreaker or Rhythm of War. So I guess it's possible that I just don't know the reference yet, but still, there were so many references in there, and there was almost like this idea that you should be getting these. It makes the story a little bit less accessible if, 1, if you haven't read all the Cosmere books, or 2, if maybe you just aren't keeping track of every tiny little detail meticulously. Number 2, as I mentioned, Hoyt is our narrator, and so is Tress. I don't have an issue with there being like 2 narrators. My issue is that it was like a narrator inside a narrator. That Hoyt was telling it from Tress's point of view, but he was also like putting his own thoughts and his own Hoytiness into it and breaking the fourth wall. You know, you would think, since I'm writing a book called The Fourth Wall, that I would like that kind of stuff, but I did not. It was a huge issue for me because there were times where I didn't know if I was getting Hoyt's thoughts or Tress's. There were issues like number 5 where I feel like Hoyt just should have told us that it was a computer. He's breaking the fourth wall over and over again. Sometimes he's even in Tress's point of view, like giving us details that Tress doesn't actually even know. Those lines simply blurred too often, and it made it really hard to get into Tress's skin. Number 1, you might have already guessed it already. In some ways, it's a culmination of almost all of these complaints. I didn't like Hoyt. Usually I like him. In the Stormlight Archive and in Mistborn Era 2, he has a little bit more of a role in those than some of the other books. And I enjoy his character. He's fun. He tells interesting stories. He makes our characters think and grow. Not only do I like him as a character, but he also serves a really important role in those novels. However, I actually felt like having Hoyt in this novel took away from Tress and the Emerald Sea. I know that Hoyt is generally a beloved character, so I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on his narration. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. If you didn't like some of my opinions, you know what, go ahead, hit the dislike button. I'll get over it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you're like me, often you gotta find something completely different after you finish a book. Check this video out for something completely different than Tress and the Emerald Sea.